Hello and welcome to Sam's on. We're wearing both.
We've only just noticed. We've been in each other's presence.
We look like a really bad tag team who's been thrown together, but are trying to make it work.
Yeah, but we've kind of not quite got the same gear.
Well, that's ruined the timing of my entrance. Oh, that works really well. Hello and welcome to Sam's on Wrestling. I am Sam and I'm joined by Baby Sam.
Hello there.
No, snappier.
Hello there, hello there.
Gotta get that timing right.
Sorry.
I'm gonna make it work from the fact that we're... And this is our round table discussions, a bit of an open forum where we will talk about a certain wrestling category topic and just openly talk about it, trying to get a conversation with you online, you in the comments. What do you think about this? And do you know, we're talking about something a little bit interesting today.
A little bit interesting.
But before we do that, I'm going to get my timing right. Don't forget to like, splat. Timing's wrong.
Well, that's more delivery.
Oh, yeah, damn. But I did it too slowly and it's ruined it for me.
I see.
Yeah. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Was it too fast?
Yes.
Right.
Don't forget to like.
That's too slow. That's too slow.
I was as fast as I can go.
This is what happens when you don't write stuff. This is why people plan YouTube.
Yeah.
Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and put your comments below. What do you think about timing in... Oh my God, vehicle reversing, the timing! What are you doing?
The timing!
Oh, what do you think about timing in wrestling? So Sam, do you want to give a bit of detail? What do you think we talk about when we're thinking of timing in wrestling?
There's a very wide scope of things you can talk about, because you can talk about timing in the ring in terms of executing moves. I think what I am more interested about talking about is when people emerge onto the scene.
That's the timing I'm thinking.
Yes, because a lot of times you can get... So a great wrestler can come in where... I think if you emerged... I think Punk's talked about it on a podcast. He emerged in about 08 and 09 kind of neck of the woods, where you had main eventers...
06 officially.
Yeah. You had main eventers like Triple H, John Cena, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Edge, Batista, all were there, and it was so hard to break into that stratosphere.
And even when he was given a world title, he still didn't break it.
Yeah.
They still put him in the mid-card.
Exactly, but then if he'd have come out, when he was younger, in like 2014, would he have been given more, would he have had an easier path? Or now, exactly.
The person I think of when we're going to go timing, and I know this person has a lot of fans, but they now have massively split opinion in recent times. And you brought this to me when we were at All In 2024. Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné. And we were thinking about it, we were watching this and going, we loved her as Sasha Banks. Like, really were massively behind it. And then you realise, and this could be harsh, and this could be a controversial opinion rather than anything, but if she debuted now, I don't think she'd be that big a deal. I think she would get on the card. I think she has a good gimmick and an interesting look, so I don't think she'd be ignored. But you could also say that Shotzi's got an interesting look. Yeah. Zelina Vega, interesting look. And they haven't been pushed to the hilt as much as Sasha. And you realise she came about in NXT when NXT was brand new, and she was next to Charlotte. And obviously those two were great. And then they got pushed onto the main roster when there was no women wrestling, and they were told they were the revolution. They were told that they're going to change women's wrestling, along with Becky Lynch. Bayley hadn't come yet, but they just had an amazing match in NXT TakeOver. Yeah. So she could have those amazing matches. And suddenly, she got to be the main player. Yeah. And you look at her now and you go, your promos, they ain't great, are they? And your wrestling, even though better than your promos, it ain't great either.
When you realise that everyone else after that surge has all kind of caught up now.
Yeah, they really have. And I remember watching her match with like Willow Nightingale, and I went, she is so much better than you. And then she obviously took on Vasquez, who obviously went to NXT afterwards, and went, she is so much better than you. And your thing was you were a really, really good wrestler, which around WrestleMania 31, 32, 33 region, she was probably one of, if not the best female wrestler on the docket, really, because we just had Paige and AJ who were solid. And that's about as far as we'd ever got with solid. And you had Naomi, who was also hadn't done what she does now. And then you had like Tamina and the Bellas and all this lot, And then these three come along, and then Bayley a little bit later, and they're amazing.
Well, you have to take into account is the zeitgeist at the time.
Yes, as well.
Even before they kind of came to the main roster, there was this surge of a movement of going, we are so bored of the women's matches just being 2 minutes.
And fair play to the Bellas. I think the Bellas made a big deal about this, about ending a match early, and I respect the Bellas more than I realised I did when I watched their documentary. And obviously documentaries are there to help and bolster, but they were saying like we wanted to wrestle on main event. We wanted to get a chance to wrestle and stuff. And I liked that. I respect that. Yeah. And that's why we go to timing. If Sasha had debuted now, or Mercedes Moné, would she be that big a deal? Would she have even got an AEW contract if she was brand new right now and working indies or anything like that? It's really, really interesting to look at to me. I'm not actually fully sure. And obviously this is, it's hyperbole, it's also hearsay, and you're also guessing, let's be honest here. You pay in the hypotheticals. But she isn't. And the only reason she gets to be on that platform now is because she had a name. And do you think Tony Khan's looking there going, you ain't bringing in the people that I thought you would bring in. You ain't doing the job that I thought you would do.
No, well, I think you also realise, look, when people go to AEW and they're given a lot of freedom, which is something that we champion, especially we were like, please, because WWE was so restrictive.
Oh, yeah.
But I think people get exposed more when you see they have freedom. So when their stuff isn't good, it's all on them.
I think John Moxley ran into that a little bit before his all-new gimmick and all the stories that he's been doing the last 4 or 5 months. I wasn't enjoying Moxley in AEW. I really wasn't. I've been okay now, been decent now, but I really didn't enjoy that. So I think Jericho's running to that a little bit as well. In AEW having that big freedom, and I think you saw it in WCW when people had too much freedom. They did kind of whatever they wanted, and it didn't quite work. And this is why you also need someone to be quite strong behind. And people miscommunicate what strong needs to be. Strong needs the ability to say no. Not to, withhold someone's contract, fire them or force them to do a job they don't want to do. So it's that. So, because the other timing we talk about Sasha getting, or Mercedes getting the good timing. Goldberg is also another one, the right timing. WCW were riding a wave, and they put this person out, and they did the booking, and the timing was inch perfect. If they'd done the exact same thing with Goldberg in 2000, would we even be talking about Goldberg right now? If they'd done the exact same, everything, win it for a minute, they might have even hated it. They might have even hated it, just this bloke comes on and squashes people. They might have even hated it. If WWE had done it, they might have hated it. And so Goldberg at the right time, the right moment, it's riding a crestable wave, he looked amazing, it was different to everything else that was happening, and the timing really worked. But you look at other people who had like streak gimmicks and stuff like that in the past. Tankred had one, went nowhere. Ryback, it worked for a bit, but then, they fell away and the timing wasn't quite there.
Yeah, and who else I look at for timing? Mr. Perfect.
Oh!
He was there way too early. If he was there in the mid-90s when it was Brett and Shawn were actually rising, he would have been one of them. He would have been one of them. There. He would have been world champion, no two ways about it, and probably should have been anyway, potentially.
Well, he had another problem. He could sell.
Yeah, well...
you're not allowed to sell back then. No, Dolph Ziggler and people like that is another one. So who would you think about who's had bad timing? Who came about and you're there going, if you'd come about just that little bit earlier or a little bit later, you would have been something. Even if they became something kind of later, who was like that person who you're there going, come on, like, why would you not up there now straight away? Like, is there anyone screaming in your mind?
That's a good question. I think I could probably come up with some better ones, but Cesaro to me came a bit early because I think
if Cesaro had come around the Triple H era,
and maybe he wouldn't be world champion because of promos, but he would have the stuff he would have gotten to do and been trusted with would have been so much more, and he wouldn't have had this big ceiling on his potential. He's a big one. I mean, you could say a lot of people like that. That's one that comes to mind. Do you have any that
weirdly, Matt Riddle. I think Matt Riddle came at the wrong time. I think if he'd have come like 2011 sort of region when WWE was really struggling, his character would have got over monstrously. It was a bit more current at the time, 2011. He kind of got the back end of that kind of gimmick. But this fighter style, a lot of people were doing kicks and punches around that sort of time, and he would have been the better at it. If Matt Riddle, with his gimmick, had worked as a person, whatever, but the gimmick, I think, would have really worked. I think he came now, and it took him so long to get over. I think Vince had to realise that he was funny or a bit silly, and he paired him with Randy Orton, and I think it was the Randy Orton stuff that built him. It took ages, and then obviously he ruined it himself. But because I thought his run with Seth Rollins was really good.
Oh, I really.
And they're going, that took him ages to get there, and they're going, you probably could have got there earlier. Stuff like that. You've got other people who've got gimmicks and characters. I think you're at the wrong time. Could you imagine The Fiend turning up in 2003? An Undertaker has just stopped. There's no kind of mystical characters, but they're still okay to do those sort of characters. Could you imagine if The Fiend had turned up then? I think he'd be, not only is it one of the greatest gimmicks now, I think it'd be regarded as one of the Undertaker type level of gimmicks.
Yeah, I think you had more main eventers there that if someone like, I don't know, maybe Goldberg's bad example, but like a Kurt Angle, someone with real star power to go and sell that gimmick would give it a lot more gravitas than when he was feuding with still main eventers, but Seth Rollins doesn't have that same like reputation and aura as someone like a Triple H selling that.
Probably could do it now. Probably,
now maybe, but I think at the time
5 years ago, 6 years ago,
2019, people he was a bit fragile.
Well, to be fair, it came at the wrong time because people already were done with Seth Rollins' babyface run, as it were, at that point. Anyway,
but then you've got some amazing times like magic in a bottle where it's like you came at just the right time. Daniel Bryan really was just exactly the what everyone was just dying for. That
not a big bloke.
No,
not this person who's been pushed to the hilt. A wrestler, a person we could respect, a person that we could almost relate to. The reason Austin got over, relatable.
Yeah.
And then Vince doesn't realise that. He thinks big star, big muscles, Hogan. No, Hogan worked because timing. Hogan was perfect, and then it proved it in WCW. Hogan was walking around going, "They hate me. They are booing me." Becomes a heel. Perfect timing. Perfect timing. And that's another example. The NWO was literally inch perfect timing. Hogan to turn. Because everyone weren't ready to turn on Hogan, but they were like apathetic almost. Turns, and you're like, no, with the outsiders who just got perfect timing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bryan still came early enough so that he was in a situation where he had loads of foils like The Miz. Where who they were like sports entertainment people that he could rebel against. He got to face Cena at his pomp as well.
Yes, he did.
I think that's a really underrated little feud he had there as well.
Yeah.
Things like that. That is really important. Like the timing is just...
We've also talked about other people who are like, is when like if you turn up at the wrong time because there's no one for you to face. So let's think of the women's division and think of the tag division. My first name immediately skips to my mind is Beth Phoenix. We did her power ranking a couple of weeks ago. Please watch that video. Her power ranking on Beth. She's awesome. Beth's a phenomenal wrestler. She's really good, a powerhouse. Pick her up. Stick her in now with the exact same booking. She would be on level footing with so many wrestlers. Would she be as many champions or be the number one? Probably not. But I tell you what, you wouldn't have looked at her and gone, nah, don't put her down there. Don't put her down. Because she had so much more. And I think Beth is a person either going, you came around when the women were just bathrooms and bathroom breaks and the matches weren't very good and there was no wrestlers because all the wrestlers had finished and stuff like that. Pick them up, put them there now. Wow. Yeah. And that's the thing. Because this is what we always say, if someone would be amazing if they were able to be picked up from when they were amazing and put there. Trish as an example. Trish had a feud with Becky, feud with Charlotte. She still held her own, looked great. And they're going, yep, you would have still worked. But then we think about the tag division. How often does the tag division go up and down? I'll give you two teams that I go, you actually, I think, would have been regarded as some of the greatest teams of all time, but you literally had nobody. London and Kendrick. They would be up there with the Hardys. They were phenomenal, London and Kendrick. They had a year-long title reign. But I'll tell you what, Sam, let me just list some tag teams that they faced in that time. Right? Deuce and Domino. William Regal and Dave Taylor are reuniting Eminem for half a minute. And then you got, that's about it. Oh, no, the Pitbulls. Jamie Noble and Kid Cash. And you know what? A very, very young Idol Stevens. And who's Idol Stevens? Damien Sandow.
Oh, wow.
He was in a tag team with somebody else. I've forgotten who it was. Like, no, because they were being managed by Michelle McCool. They were called the Teacher's Pets or something like that. Look at the tag teams I've just mentioned. Of course they're not going to be well-renowned. But I tell you what, you watch London Kendrick and they were phenomenal because they were cruiserweights who did their moves correctly. They were fast. They were together. I think they also had, I forgot her name. That's really bad. They had a manager for a while. Ashley Mazzaro. She was great. Really fitted in them because she was kind of punk and they were kind of cool. Pick them up. Put them in 2002. It's only 5 years prior. Or put them even now. Even though the tag division's not great. There's people they could have worked with. They would be put on an upper echelon because they would have been great. Or even put them in AEW. Put them in TNA with the Motor City Machine Guns, who again, their timing of being in TNA when wrestling tag team was rubbish in WWE and even in TNA it was rubbish. Pick them up, put them in, I don't know, where the Usos, Motor City Machine Guns would be regarded as one of the greatest tag teams ever. Ever. I can't wait to start reviewing TNA with you.
I know.
Because we can watch Motor City Machine Guns.
Well, that's
at their pomp, not old guys now, you know, they've been back for a few months. But
well, that's the point as well because there's like dual times in wrestling where you've only really got for a long time it's only WWE. Like TNA had a little bit of a spell and then so there's no other options.
2 years.
So now it's so much better to come onto the scene now where you've got WWE and AEW.
And TNA. TNA still get viewers now and they're WWE like WWE has actually helped them out by having a little bit of a rub. It has actually helped them.
Yeah. So you've got so many more options.
As well as NXT.
If you go
in
to like
AEW.
2003, 2004.
You don't make WWE, you don't make it
No.
anywhere. Yeah, you have to go to Mexico or Japan.
Yeah, exactly.
But the other tag team I think of is The Bar.
Yeah.
They came back a bit later and they're phenomenal. Put them in the Attitude Era because they're a better APA. They're a better APA. Like, APA had a better gimmick, but The Bar were better workers. They had a similar thing about the Smash Mouth style. They would have been, again, they probably would have been a fatal four-way because APA weren't putting that tag team ladder matches with the other ones. These guys might have been. So timing to me, I love talking about timing because you realise that some people really, you can just say, are the luckiest people. And I really think Mercedes Moné is an example of luck. And I really do think that. And I think the reason that people are against her, and you can throw in things like she's overly paid or whatever, but I think it's more the fact that she isn't as good as we actually remembered her.
Yes.
It's been 10 years. It's been over 10 years.
You know what? If she, and I'm not saying that she should have done this, but if she had, after she left WWE, just went, no, I'm going to do acting, I'm going to do something else, I'm not going to do wrestling, she would be remembered, I think, in a much more revered way, justifiably or not. But it is that fact that I think we thought she was better than she was. Not that she isn't good.
Yeah. Well, when we watched that All In match, I told you I like Britt Baker and I like Mercedes, and then we watched it. This is messy. This is sloppy. Now we just had MJF and Ospreay, so we were knackered. But at the same time, we could have kept going. Crowds can keep going. British fans can keep going.
Yeah, I've never seen a crowd that apathetic to a match.
With 80,000, 50,000 people.
People, I could look around, people weren't watching. People weren't looking, they were just chatting. It was like we were having
a good chat, yeah.
There may as well have genuinely been, for a lot of it, been nothing going on in the ring. Just say, oh, this is an intermission. The crowd would have acted the same way.
They should have done the Saraya and all that, like the return of, and all that. Like, that should have happened then, and then they could have put the women's match on. But that's AEW pay-per-view problem. They don't put things on the pay-per-view in between. They just match, and you do get tired. But yeah, it's just to me, we were talking about doing this when we watched All In. We hadn't even started the channel at that point. That's like August, and our channel was October, and we were just there going, we need to talk about timing because. And it was mainly based on Mercedes. And then we were like, well, Goldberg's timing, Brock's timing. Yeah. Brock, literally, don't get me wrong, Brock probably would have got over whenever. But Brock rocked up, and he looks around, Rock's walking off, Stone Cold's had already gone. I know he came back for a couple months, but he's gone. Goldberg's not turned up yet. Triple H has started his reign of terror and people hate him. There's no other big stars. Brock walked in and went, I'll take the main event. Thanks for that. I'll work with Kurt and we'll be amazing together. The timing was inch perfect. The Undertaker. Perfect timing. This spooky gimmick was exactly what WWE needed. And then they went, we can keep putting people with us on. Vince could have easily given up on The Undertaker after he feuded with Hogan, like he did with every monster, like your Earthquakes and all this lot. Yeah. You look at these Earthquake, another great timing. Turns up, is amazing, feuds with Hogan, back to the tag team, go away. Turns up literally 2 or 3 years later when Hogan's not there. Earthquake could have been a mainstay in the main event picture.
Look at this one. Sergeant Slaughter won a WWE Championship largely because there was a war going on.
Yeah. Great example. What's happening in the world right now, as in Austin. Austin's timing was perfect. The anti-establishment terrorism against the boss, and then Vince being the boss, and obviously the Montreal, happened, and the other one. But the fans, if you looked at the 1990s, it was a rough time. There was so much happening outside. People were rebelling. There was riots and everything. And people were just angry with how the establishment had happened. And then Austin comes around, throws the middle finger up to the establishment. It was perfect. Hence why The Rock then works, because The Rock was almost like, I am the establishment. I am over-the-top talk. I can go wherever I want. I've got money. You don't have money. I've got money looking. It's amazing what timing can do in wrestling. Do you have anything else you want to put on the end of this?
What I would say is that there are some wrestlers who are that good they supersede timing. Shawn Michaels works in any Punk.
I think Punk is a great example of it.
Yeah, great.
Fan or not, you cannot say that Punk has not lived through stuff. And you know what? There are some wrestlers who you don't even realise have lived through so many different eras and have modified. And I think the number one of that is someone like Jericho.
Yeah.
I think Jericho and Shawn Michaels are two, as much as I'm not a fan of what Jericho is doing now, but he tries stuff. You can't say he doesn't try stuff. Jericho literally went from, before Attitude Era, let's be honest, ECW and all that lot, you could even say New Gen, into Attitude, Ruthless Aggression, PG, Reality, whatever they call these things now, Triple H era, AEW era. He reinvented it, and who he is and his intelligence transcended time. He could have turned up whenever, and it still would have worked.
That's what I was about to say, just as my last point. It's some wrestlers are smart enough and on the money enough to recognise when there is an opportunity like timing. Like some wrestlers would do it when they would move promotions because they can see ahead. So timing isn't just about luck. There's a big luck element to it. Yes.
Cody.
Yeah.
Cody is the number one. Literally saw it, negotiated well, clearly, and I think Vince was smart enough to go, he's actually quite monstrously over, and we'll do it. And Cody knew the timing. I don't know if he knew what was going to happen over here and did this. We don't know. But Cody's a great example of that. You're right.
So you got to have your finger on the pulse as well.
Jay Cargill. Another one. Literally knew the other one. Yeah. So, in conclusion, timing in wrestling. Is there any other wrestlers you want to know? We actually might do a video or even a top 10 list on this one day. What wrestlers were at the wrong time? Who would have been bigger than they are in the wrong time? And who are lucky through timing? We will do definitely 2 top 10s on those in the future. What about yours? Why don't you put them in the comments below? What do you think about timing? What do you think about what we've said in general? What do you think about Mercedes Moné? Do you have those views? And try and keep the bias out of it. Like, if you're a mega fan or you're not, what's the view generally? We would like to hear. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you on our round table another time. Thank you very much. And we will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.